Okay, so you know that feeling, right,
Yeah.
when you're betting, and it just feels like the system is stacked against you.
Mm.
Like, the house always wins, sure, but is it really just chance or the odds? What if there's something, well, bigger going on?
Yeah, it's easy to put it all down to luck or maybe your strategy. But the deep dive we're doing today, it points to maybe a more fundamental reason things might be tipped.
Okay.
We're digging into this really insightful article, and it looks at something often missed. The actual legal scaffolding holding up the huge online betting world.
Exactly. So this source material isn't just about bad luck. It argues these massive betting platforms are powerful, not just because they're clever businesses, but because they're sort of quietly backed by legal loopholes.
Loopholes,
So
yeah.
our mission here is to unpack what this article says, the main arguments, the surprising bits, to see how these often hidden legal frameworks actually shape the industry, give them tons of freedom, and, well, what that means for you.
Right, let's get into it. The article's main point is that the success, the dominance of online betting, isn't just about player losses or the house edge.
Hmm.
It talks about what it calls legal blind spots. Basically, gaps or weaknesses in the rules that these platforms really exploit.
So the rules themselves are flawed or just missing, and that gives them an edge. What does that actually look like? Does the article give specific examples?
Oh, absolutely. One big area is transparency, or really the lack of it. You'd think there'd be standard protections, like making companies reveal the return to player percentage, how much a game pays back over time.
Yeah, that seems basic.
But the source says these laws often just don't apply to the online platforms, not properly.
And why is that? Is it about where they're based?
That's exactly it. That's where the offshore thing comes in. The article explains loads of these platforms get licenses from places like Malta or Curacao, Gibraltar,
Oh, those.
and it's pretty direct about why they pick them. It's light touch regulation, super low taxes, and almost zero enforcement. The article actually calls it, wait, let me find the quote. Yeah, legal tax evasion disguised as international business.
Wow. Legal tax evasion. Okay, that's strong. So right away, that gives them a huge advantage, doesn't it? Bypassing transparency people expect. Yeah. What you mentioned advertising.
Yes, the advertising gray zones.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Even if governments try to ban direct betting ads, the article says they often completely miss regulating affiliate marketing.
Affiliate marketing. So like influencers.
Exactly. Influencers, YouTubers, tipsters. They promote gambling, but indirectly, often on social media. And the source paints this worrying picture, saying there's often, quote, no age gate, no warning, no real barrier.
So it's reaching potentially vulnerable people, maybe younger people, through channels that aren't really being watched.
Precisely. It's a huge unchecked way to grow, especially as the article notes when they move into developing countries.
Right. It mentions that connection too. How does that work?
Well, it highlights how betting companies sign massive sponsorship deals with national sports teams in these regions.
Ah, so they embed themselves into the culture
Yeah.
using sports.
Yes, exactly. Leveraging national pride, the passion for the game, it instantly gives their brand this sort of cultural legitimacy.
But here's the kicker, right? The source says they do this without really having to prove they're handling the serious stuff.
That's the point it makes. They get all this visibility, this implied trust through sports, but apparently face little requirement to show how they're dealing with critical issues like, addiction support, game fairness, or even just paying out winnings properly.
Visibility without responsibility. That's
Ugh.
quite something.
Yeah.
And this connects to what the article calls the real kicker, the idea that some governments actually end up needing the tax money these companies bring in.
It's a really troubling cycle described in the source. You get more users, more betting, which means more tax revenue for the government.
Yep.
But that reliance on the money, the article argues, can make those same governments kind of reluctant to really tighten the screws with regulation or proper oversight.
And who suffers most in that scenario?
Well, the source is clear. It's problem gamblers, people struggling with addiction, and potentially young people who are exposed too early without enough protection.
So wrapping this all together then, the article's main thrust is that this isn't just normal business. It's structural. It uses that striking phrase, sometimes it's legal corruption wrapped in national pride.
That really sums it up. The final point is that the house isn't winning just because of math or luck. This source argues, pretty convincingly I think, that they're winning significantly because they effectively helped write the rules. Or at least they benefit massively from the rules as they are or aren't.
Okay, so to recap, based on this article, We've got these legal loopholes, like offshore licenses letting them avoid transparency. We've got gray areas in advertising, using influencers. They gain legitimacy through sports deals, but maybe without the accountability. And then governments potentially relying on the tax money. It all adds up to giving these companies huge power and freedom.
It really does make you step back and look at the bigger picture this source is painting. It suggests that maybe the rules themselves, the ones governments create or choose not to create, might actually be a bigger factor in how the betting industry works and its impact on all of us than any single bet you place.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on, pulled from the implications of the article. What does it really mean when the laws that are supposed to regulate an industry might, in fact, be helping to create or worsen the very problems that industry causes? It's a powerful question from the source, and definitely something to think about.